Good morning, welcome to Breakfast. This morning with Naga Manchetti and Charlie State.
Our headlines today. Human remains have been found in the search for missing Sarah Everard. A Metropolitan Police officer is being questioned.
I speak on behalf of all my colleagues when I say that we are utterly appalled at this dreadful, dreadful news.
A year on, the family of a football fan who died from COVID asked why thousands of Spanish supporters were allowed to go to a match in Liverpool on the day the outbreak was declared a global pandemic.
Helping those who saved his life, a boy who suffered life-changing burns in a fire that killed his younger brother raises money for the charity that got him back on his feet.
The future of John Lewis and the High Street. Good morning. Are the big closures coming for one of the biggest names in retail, and how are town centres coping with our new shopping habits?
Good morning. Liverpool march on in Europe. They brush aside their problems at home in the Premier League to reach the quarter-finals of the Champions League in a home leg played in Hungary.
And did the winds wake you last night? Well, hardly surprising. Wales had its strongest wind gusts since February last year. How quickly will those winds ease down? I'll have your details here on Breakfast.
Good morning, it's Thursday, the 11th of March. Our top story this morning. Police investigating the disappearance of Sarah Everard in South London have found human remains in woods in Kent.
The 33-year-old has been missing since last week. A serving police officer is being questioned on suspicion of her kidnap and murder. Aruna Iyengar has more.
All along the route Sarah took from Clapham Common over a week ago, posters bearing her image are stuck to every lamppost and bus stop, appealing for information. But yesterday evening, police search teams investigating Sarah's disappearance discovered what appears to be human remains in woodland in Ashford, Kent. Police say they're not yet able to confirm any identity, and that may take considerable time. Officers also searched this house in Deal, Kent. Cars were taken away. It's believed to be the home of a serving police officer. He's been arrested on suspicion of Sarah's kidnap and murder, and over a separate allegation of indecent exposure. The officer in his 40s was responsible for guarding diplomatic buildings. He was not on duty on the night Sarah disappeared. A woman in her 30s was also arrested on suspicion of assisting an offender.
The news today that it was a Metropolitan Police officer who was arrested on suspicion of Sarah's murder has sent shockwaves and anger through the public and through the Met. I speak on behalf of all my colleagues when I say that we are utterly appalled. Sarah's disappearance in these awful and wicked circumstances, I know, are every family's worst nightmare.
The Met Commissioner said it was incredibly rare for a woman to be abducted from our streets, but patrols have been stepped up in this area of South London. Sarah, a marketing executive, had been at her friend's house on Leithwaite Road, close to Clapham Common. She left there at around 9 in the evening to return to her home in Brixton, about 50 minutes walk away. Police believe she made her way across Clapham Common. This footage showed Sarah on Poinders Road, part of London's South Circular Road, at around 9:30. It's the last time she was seen. Sarah's family is being supported by specialist police officers. Her family and friends still want people to come forward to help police with anything they saw that night. Aruna Iyengar, BBC News.
The head of a UK press body has resigned over the statement he issued following the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's comments about racism in the media.
Ian Murray said he would step down from his role at the Society of Editors so it could rebuild its reputation. On Monday, he defended newspapers against the accusation they were bigoted, but he later faced criticisms for those comments.
Cancer patients get less protection than the rest of the population from a single dose of the Pfizer coronavirus vaccine. That's according to a new study. Scientists behind the research at King's College London and the Francis Crick Institute have called for those affected to receive their second dose more quickly. The leading charity, Cancer Research UK, said the findings were interesting but urged patients to continue to follow doctors' advice.
Nearly 20 LGBT plus organisations and campaigners have written to the Equalities Minister to express their deep concern following her response to calls to ban so-called conversion therapy. Campaigners say Kemi Badenoch failed to engage with recent calls for urgent action. The letter comes after 2 advisors quit the government's LGBT advisory panel yesterday in protest. The government says it's committed to building a country where everyone is free to live their lives.
The amount of sugar consumed by British households from soft drinks alone has fallen since the introduction of a sugar tax in 2018.
This according to new research from the University of Cambridge, which suggests that an average drop of around 10%. Here's more from our health correspondent, Anna Collinson.
Obesity is seen as one of the biggest health crises facing the UK. To try and tackle the problem, 3 years ago, the government brought in a tax to discourage customers, particularly children, from buying the most sugary drinks. If a beverage contains more than 5 grams of sugar per 100 millimetres, companies have to pay a levy. If it's below that, they don't. Now, a study suggests that in the years since this was introduced, there was no change in the total volume of soft drinks bought, but there was a reduction in the amount of sugar consumed, an estimated 3 teaspoons per person per week. Researchers believe it's because manufacturers have increased healthier options by changing the formulas for their products, reducing sugar content.
It's not just helping people to have healthier diets, to consume less sugar, but the fact that we found no change in the total volume of drinks purchased suggests to us that this is good news for industry as well, that they're selling the same volume of product, but that it's perhaps better for us.
Experts say cutting out even the smallest amount of sugar will have an impact on the number of people who have obesity and type 2 diabetes, 2 groups who are particularly at risk of coronavirus. Anna Collinson, BBC News.
So on breakfast yesterday, we bid farewell to Chinua, an 8-year-old black rhino who was preparing to embark on a 4,000-mile journey from North Yorkshire to Tanzania.
She's on her way now. Lakshmi Gopal has been following the first leg of what's going to be an epic voyage. Take a look.
Chinua has been training for this moment for weeks. Her keepers in Yorkshire have worked on coaxing the 8-year-old black rhino to step into the crate. And now for the final time. The barrier comes down and she's safely stowed, ready to start her journey to Africa. Getting a crate holding a 1-ton rhino onto a lorry is no mean feat, but this precious cargo is worth the effort. Chinua's new life in East Africa is part of a vital conservation mission to help revive the black rhino population, a critically endangered species. She's travelling from her home in Malton down to Hythe in Kent, where she'll spend time with 2 other captive females before they're all transported by air to Tanzania to join a new herd of rhinos brought there from other zoos. Like her predecessor Olmati, who was moved to Rwanda in 2019, her transition to life in the wild will be gradual, with the team helping the herd adjust.
We need to assimilate them to the natural diet in the area, wean them off of the zoo food which we've been feeding her, and the dried pellets, and start introducing her to local flora, specifically alfalfa.
It's a long drive down to Kent. Luckily, she seems to be a calm passenger, even when a stop-off at the services is needed. And finally, the first leg of her journey is complete. Lakshmi Gopal, BBC News.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.